Yes. So the title of my PowerPoint is Promoting Lifestyle, and the subtopic is going to be Benefits and Consequences. So, I mean, as a form of introduction, what is a healthy lifestyle? So, a healthy lifestyle can be defined in simple terms as the way in which a person lives. So, how you live, how you do your things, is classified as a lifestyle, or how you do, which is not a one-time thing, but a sort of like a long-term or a definitive time thing in which you live your life. And health, according to the World Health Organization, could be a state of complete physical, mental, um, mental, social well-being, and not merely a absence of disease or infirmity. So I just coined these both words. So I now define in my own words a healthy lifestyle as a way a person lives that keeps them in a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not only the absence of disease or infirmity. So it's the way you live that keeps you in a state of both well, physically, mentally, and socially. And different studies have been done in the time past. So I'm going to be using one of the major studies by a big organization, which is Harvard School of Health, which was done by Lee et al., looking at the impact of healthy lifestyle factors on life expectancies in the US population. So this was 5 factors were found to help according to the previous studies, and they formed the basis of their studies as well. This was one, healthy diet, healthy physical activity, healthy weight, smoking, and moderate alcohol intake. So their data was gathered from 1986 up until 20, followed them from 1986 up until 2014. And even is still ongoing till now. But this study that I'm using was from 1980 to 2014. So they used 2 different databases. One was called the NHS, which is the Nursing Health Survey. And also this used they followed 78,000 women from 1980 to 2014. And the second data was the Health Professionals Fellowship Follow-up Survey, which used 40,000 men and followed them up from 1986 to 2014. So these were over 120,000 participants with 34 years of data for women and 28 years of data for men. So they found out, according to their analysis, they found out that people who met the criteria for all 5 activity habits, which I talked about earlier, which was healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, not when you're not smoking, healthy weight, healthy physical activity, and moderate alcohol intake. They found out that people who had these 5 habits lived 40 years longer for women and 12 years longer for men if they had this habit at age 50. And people who had none of these habits were far more likely to die prematurely from cancer or cardiovascular disease. So healthy lifestyle as a whole has to do more with non-communicable diseases. According to this a data done in 2002, which was done in conjunction with WHO, healthy diets also in consequence helps to prevent chronic diseases. And chronic diseases and non-communicable diseases are defined as conditions or diseases that last for at least 1 year or more and require ongoing medical attention, and they limit activities of daily living or both. From that study by the Javeri et al. With WHO in 2002, it was projected that by 2020, chronic diseases or non-communicable diseases will account for at least almost 3/4 of all deaths worldwide. And 71% of these deaths will be due to ischemic disease, which is heart diseases due to lack of blood supply to the heart. 75% of these deaths will be due to stroke, and 70% of deaths will be due to diabetes. And this will occur in developing countries. And the number of people in developing world with diabetes will increase by 2.5-fold, from 84 million in 1995 to 228 million in 2025. And although this is talking about developing countries, I want to see us, even though we classify us as developed world, but even in our own system, or like in the UK, there's something called health inequalities. And it's been found out that people in the lower rungs, or people in the middle class, people in the lower rungs, actually have the same disease burden as people living in the developing countries. So I'm going to now be talking about fact sheets about non-communicable disease from WHO. So non-communicable diseases kill about 41 million people each year, equivalent, and this is, now look at what they projected then in 2002, and look at what, this is our fact sheet from 2020, what is happening now in 2020. So the non-communicable disease now kill 41 million people per year, which is equivalent to about 71% of all deaths. And each year, from more than 15 million people die from a non-communicable disease between the ages of 30 and 69 years. And 85% of these premature deaths occur in low and middle income countries. Cardiovascular diseases, which is diseases of the heart, account for more than most of non-communicable disease deaths, or 17.9 million annually, followed by cancers, respiratory diseases, and diabetes. And these four groups of diseases account for over 80% of all premature non-communicable disease deaths. Another fact is tobacco use, which still relates to the previous study that was done by Lee et al. That tobacco use, physical inactivity, harmful use of alcohol, unhealthy diet, all increase the risk of dying from a non-communicable disease. And detection, screening, treatment of non-communicable disease, as well as palliative care, which is how to help them when they have gotten this, are key components of response to non-communicable disease. So I'm not going to be looking at one by one what the key factors we can actually prevent. So just a minute. So one is healthy diet. So a healthy diet, according to WHO, must include fruits, vegetables, which are legumes, beans, nuts, and whole grains. And this, we always talk about 5 portions of foods. So the 5 portions, and this must also, and you must also have at least 400 grams of fruits and vegetables per day, which will include potatoes, sweet potatoes, cassava, and all starchy roots. So why is this? So because it's been found that vegetables and fruits have been found to be important sources of antioxidants, dietary fiber, plant protein, vitamins, and minerals. And people whose diets are rich in these are found to have lower risk of obesity, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and some types of cancers. Also, under healthy diets, reducing sugar and salt. Less than 10% of energy intake must be from free sugars, which is for a healthy body weight, you must be consuming about 2,000 calories by day. So it must be less than 5% of your total energy intake per day. So, and free sugars are all sugars added to foods or drinks by manufacturers, as well as sugars present in honey, syrups, fruit juices, and fruit juice concentrate. So you must have less than 10% of all your energy intake daily must be from fruit sugars. So you mustn't consume a lot of foods and drinks that contain all these fruit juices, fruit juice concentrates, honey, and syrups. And also 5 grams of salt, which is equivalent to about 1 teaspoon of salt per day. And all these salts must be iodized as well. Why is this? So salt contains high level of sodium, and studies have shown, especially in Africans, that hypertension is directly related to our consumption of salt. We found out in studies that, especially in Africans, that hypertension in us are volume dependent, which means that because we take a lot of salt, when you take salt in, salt draws water, and it's been known that Africans are known to preserve, maybe because of where we live or because of the sun, we are known to keep a lot of our water in our body. So when you take a lot of salt, you increase your blood volume, and in consequence, your heart needs to work more, and also that will lead to increased volume, and that could lead to hypertension in us. Also, sugars lead to obesity and being overweight, and also is also the highest risk of tooth decay. Also, obesity and diabetes are directly related as well, in that it's been found that people having high sugar concentration affect the work of your pancreas. And this, in later years, lead to diabetes, because diabetes is related to either your pancreas stopping working totally or not producing insulin in the right amounts. So obesity has been known to reduce, or high sugar content, high sugars have been known to reduce the work of insulin in us. Also, fats. So it's been recommended that our energy intake from daily must be less than 30%. So unsaturated fats found in fish, avocado, nuts, sunflower, soybeans are preferable to saturated fats found in fatty meats, butter, palm, coconut oil, cream and cheese, and trans fats of all sides, which are all foods, baked foods, snacks, frozen pizza, pies, cookies, and all these things. Also dairy foods as well. So we are meant to consume less than 30% of this daily. And it is suggested that intake of saturated fats should be less than 10% of total energy intake, and trans fats, which is baked foods, should be less than 1% of our energy intake daily. And in particular, industrially produced trans fats are not part of a healthy diet. So industrially produced, that means fat, milk, all these things are not industrially produced, yes, like baked food, fried foods, all these prepackaged snacks and foods are not part of a healthy diet and should be avoided. Why is this? So fats consumed, we have good fats, we have bad fats. Fats bad fats tend to clog up our arteries, and this is a major cause of ischemic heart disease, which I mentioned as, imagine you having a pipe and then you have fats clogging it or things clogging it. This will reduce blood flow to the heart, and which is what causes heart attack. When somebody says, oh, they have an heart attack, which is in layman terms ischemic heart disease. So now imagine the artery supplying the brain being clogged up by the same kind of fats, or being very rigid by the same kind of fats. This is what leads to stroke as well. So, like I said, this less than particular that. So now, how do we reduce fat intake? So fat intake, or saturated fat or industrially produced trans fat, can be reduced by 1, steaming or boiling instead of frying while cooking, replacing butter, lard, ghee with oil rich in polyunsaturated fat. So you are encouraged to use more oil like soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. Eating reduced fat dairy foods and lean meats. And you know, when you want to cook, sometimes you see the meat, you see fats all over it. So trimming visible fat from meat has a very good health consequence in reducing our fat intake, and also limiting the consumption of baked and fried foods, which I mentioned before, like donuts, cakes, pies, cookies, biscuits, and wafers. So I mentioned that's talking about healthy diets now. So another component of healthy lifestyle is physical activity. So according to the UK Chief Medical Officer's report of 2020, physical activity benefits are grouped according to ages. So I'm going to be minimizing this, and I'm going to talk more about so I'm going to talk using this. I hope everybody can see this. Can everybody see this?
Yes, yeah. Uncle.
Okay, yes. So this is physical activity for children and young people within 5 to 18 years. What are the benefits? 1, it builds confidence and social skills. It develops coordination, improves your concentration and learning. It strengthens your muscles and bone. It improves health and fitness, helps you maintain healthy weight, improves your sleep, and makes you feel good. And what is the recommendation according to, so you must aim to be physically active. So per week, you must aim for an average of at least 60 minutes per day across the week. So, and this activity must be spread, and you can spread the activity throughout the whole day. Part of the things here, activities here, so these are the activities you could do. Active travel, doing sports, doing PE, dancing, workouts, climbing, skipping, swimming, skating, running and walking, playing around are the groups of activities which will make you physically active. So you can choose either kind, and this will help you in improve, so you can say, so in improving your physical activity. And these are the consequences and that that will help you in that. And these are what doing physical activity will help you in achieving. So for older adults, which everybody will in time will become, It helps to improve your sleep like it does in the younger adults, helps to maintain healthy weight, manages stress, improves your quality of life, and it's been found that 40%, it helps to reduce 40%. There's 40% reduction in type 2 diabetes, 35% reduction in cardiovascular disease, 30% in having falls and suffering mental depression, joints and back pain, and it reduces 20% of having colon and breast cancers. And what is the activities that is recommended? You must have at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity per week, or at least 75 minutes of vigorous intensity per week, which includes running, walking up the stairs, doing sports, bowling, tai chi, which is all this sort of martial arts, minimizing sedentary time. So you could see here, this is somebody lying down. So people, I mean, this is also for people that play a lot of games. You must minimize is your sedentary time. Sitting in front of your computer, sitting in front, lying down, you must improve this. So you could see the person walking. So you must learn to walk around. So do more, when you lie down a bit, walk around, stand away from your computer and do all of this. Swimming, brisk walk, cycling, these are all activities that will help to improve how you help to improve your physical activity daily. So that is that about that. So I'll go back to my slide again. So what I've mentioned, what the slide that I showed you or the PDF files I showed you, I'm just now putting it in words. So it benefits. So the benefits are in older adults, which I mentioned, at 5% in reduction in cardiovascular disease, 30% reduction in falls, and all that. So another major of healthy lifestyle is, I mentioned about healthy diet. I mentioned about healthy weight. So this is healthy weight. So in talking about healthy weight, I'm going to be talking more about obesity and malnutrition. So being overweight and obesity are defined as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that present a risk to life. And the objective way to measure obesity or malnutrition is called body mass index. And body mass index over 25 is considered as overweight, and over 30 is obese. So yeah, so you can see here, it's been with over 4 million people dying each year as a result of being overweight or obese in 2017, according to the Global Burden of Disease. So these are the facts on obesity. The rates of being overweight and obese have continually grown in adults and children. So from 1975 to 2016, the prevalence of being overweight in children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 have increased more than fourfold, from 4% to 18% globally. And obesity is one side of the double burden of malnutrition. And it's the fact that today, more people are more obese than being underweight in every region except sub-Saharan Africa and Asia. And something that was considered only a problem in high-income countries, overweight and being obese are now dramatically on the rise also in low and middle-income countries, particularly in urban settings. And urban settings also includes all of us. We are living in urban settings. So in 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults, that's 18 years and older, were overweight. of these, over 650 million people were obese. 39% of adults aged 18 above were overweight in 2016 and 13% were obese. So most of the world population now live in countries where overweight and being obese kills more people than being underweight. So it's just, so this is now how to calculate your body mass index. So for you to be able to know how you're doing, you must be able to know how you calculate your body mass index is you get your, you know your weight in kilograms, which is what I know how to do. And then, but there are different ways. If you go on the internet, if you check on body mass index calculator, they'll give you different parameters in which you can use. But it's clinical, is based on your weight and your height. So in this one, you use your kilogram, which is your weight in kilograms, and your meters, which is how your height in meters, multiply, you square them, and you divide it. And that gives you an approximate figure for your body mass index. So what are the consequences of obesity? One, coronary heart disease, which I previously mentioned, in terms of fats clogging up the arteries, causing ischemic heart disease. So coronary heart disease and ischemic heart disease are interchangeable. Also, dyslipidemia, which I'm not going to talk too much about, type 2 diabetes, which is a very common disease nowadays, gallbladder disease, hypertension, osteoarthritis, which is due to, imagine your knees carrying so much weight. So over time, the cartilages and all the cartilages in the joints, especially in your knees, will start rubbing off on each other because they are carrying too much weight. And that is what that is in simple terms what osteoarthritis is. So sleep apnea is due to, because that person is overweight, they tend, their tummies tend to be bigger, so they have problems taking deep breaths in when they sleep at night. So that, and being able to diagnose sleep apnea is another topic. But if you want to ask me about it in the question section, I can talk more about that. Stroke, I've mentioned about. Infertility as well. And also at least 10 cancers, which include endometrial, which is cancer of the uterus in women, breast, and colon cancer as well. So smoking. I just want to say here, which is why I put it in capital letters, there are no benefits in smoking. And I don't expect us as children of God to be smoking. But what I want to major about in smoking is, okay, I'm just going to talk about facts. So smoking kills up to half of its user. Tobacco kills more than 8 million people per year. More than 7 million of these deaths are a result of direct tobacco smoke, whereas 1.2 are a result of non-smokers being exposed to secondhand smoke, which is what I'm going to major about. So secondhand smoke is the smoke that fills enclosed spaces. So when people smoke tobacco, so in as much as you don't smoke, I wouldn't encourage you to be around people that smoke as well. So because there is no safe level of exposure. It causes more than 1.2 million deaths per year and serious cardiovascular and respiratory disease. So What has been also found out in secondhand smoke is that almost half of the children, they are regularly breathe air polluted by tobacco smoke in public spaces, and 65,000% of these die each year from illnesses attributable to secondhand smoke. In infants, it raises the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, and in pregnant women, it causes pregnancy complications and low birth weight. So smoking causes cancer, heart disease, stroke, lung disease, diabetes. I mean, it causes everything you can think on earth. It increases your risk of tuberculosis, certain eye diseases, problems. I mean, smoking is just bad in all of it, in all consequences. So the last one was talking about alcohol intake. I'm a believer in not taking alcohol, but I'm not going to dwell too much on alcohol intake, but it's been advised that moderate alcohol intake helps to prevent cardiovascular diseases. But in my opinion, if you are able to take or do all the four major aspects of healthy lifestyle, it is good for you. You don't really need to, I mean, some people will say, oh, I'm taking alcohol to reduce my risk of cardiovascular disease, but there are other things you can actually do in your diet, in your physical activity, in preventing secondhand smoking that will help improve your cardiovascular health rather than you taking alcohol. But if you want to know more about moderate alcohol intake, I will advise you that you can look it up. But one thing I also want you to know is this. What starts as a moderate alcohol intake can end up leading you into alcoholism, which is very, 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 very bad for you. So, and I will use this Bible verse to I'll use this Bible verse to end my talk for today. According to 3 John chapter 1 verse 2, it says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, and even as thy soul prospereth." Thank you, and God bless. Questions and answers.
Praise God. Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Doc. That was very informative. I've got a few questions, but I just want to put it out there, guys. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm open to questions from all topics and any topic apart from what I've mentioned as well.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Also, you can any health question that you have, you feel free to bring it up. If you don't want to be identified when asking a question, I posted a Slido link on the youth WhatsApp group, so you can go on follow that link. You can post your question there anonymously. I will read it to Dr. Ife, and he'll be able to answer it. Okay, so any questions, guys? All right, okay, so there's a hand raised. It's either Samuel or Daniel.
It's me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. How would we go about advising people on this? Because in the new culture, like being fat's now seen as a good, empowering thing. Like, how would we go? How if you go to someone and say, "Oh, you need to cut. You're getting fat. You need to cut down your food." You're called like you're cancelled and stuff. And also, thank you for speaking to us.
Right. Let me see if I understand the question. So you're asking how you can advise people to cut down on their food intake. Is that what you're saying?
Just on diet in general. Just on everything. Just to live a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, that's a very broad question. But yeah, Doc, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, it's a very broad question. I mean, one, you have to look at just like in life, in order to be able to um, depending on how close a person is, that will depending on how much advice you'll be able to give them and how you can go about giving them an advice, how you can go about giving advice as well. But I mean, in general, like I said, moderation is everything. If you see someone or if you see a close friend of yours taking so much of all these unsaturated fats, taking so much of baked goods, taking so much of all these things, you can just talk to them, just by advising them that it will be good for you to cut down on you taking some of these things because they are not good for your health. And like I said, you could give them reasons why: tooth decay, coronary heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and things like that. I think that is, so I think that is what it is. But I mean, for you to be able to help someone, you must also, there's a saying in from my culture, or that says, I will say it in my language, Ile Latin ko Eshorode, which means charity begins from home. So anything from, if you are going to teach someone, first imbibe it in yourself. So you can't teach someone, or you can't want to advise someone when you yourself, you are doing exactly the same thing. So I would say sometimes it's not only giving advice, but you yourself adopting a healthy lifestyle. We teach others as well about adopting a healthy lifestyle. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. And I have another question.
Okay.
What do you think is the main problem with like the rise of obesity? Is it the people's problem? Is it the media's problem? Or is it the manufacturer's problem? Who do you think's to blame for it?
I mean, from what I've read, it's been put as in form of policies have to be in place to protect the public from all these kind of foods. One, it's been found out that most unhealthy foods, like all these pizzas, all these donuts, are the cheapest kinds of foods you can get. So, and it's easier to adopt. I mean, imagine you as a small boy or as a young man or somebody coming from an economically deprived environment. It's easier for you to be stuffed and get you full with those kind of foods, rather than you having to pay more for you to eat when you are trying to adopt a healthy lifestyle. If you can see the logic in what I'm trying to say. So I think even though it's and that's why you could see now that the government is trying to put taxes on sugar, taxes on this, taxes on that. But also, even though you cannot stop a manufacturer, because you cannot stop a manufacturer from producing what he wants to produce, because of the economy, because of I mean, you should have a right to produce what you want to produce. But the government is there in place, and you personally are there in place to make healthy choices for yourself as well. So it's a matter of choice from you, matter of government policy, and a matter from the manufacturers as well. And it's a matter of deprivation or health inequality as a whole, if you get the picture.
Yeah, thanks for that, though. So it's a combination of things.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for that, Doctor. Thanks, Samuel, for that question. Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask Dr. Ife? No questions from anyone? Well, I've got a question, Doc. So in fact, I've got a few questions. But
Okay.
when you were talking, specifically when you're talking about salt intake, you said that the salt had to be iodized.
Yes.
Now, what exactly does that mean? How do we know, for example, that the cooking salts that we're using, for instance, that the salt has been iodized, or if we're not using salt directly, if we're using liquid seasoning, or we're using those Maggi cubes, for example, what kind of salt do we have in that? How do we know that?
So you what you can see, or if you look at your salts, you should usually on the labels they will put iodized salts. It has been recommended by WHO now that almost all salts are meant to be iodized. I don't think we will have the problem of non-iodization of salts in this part of the world because of government regulations. Almost all our salts, I would say, I can't say, but I can say all salts for us would have been iodized. But it's always good to look at the packet or the wrapper of the salt you're buying and see if it's iodized or not. And the consequence of non-iodization of salt is it proves you see people having goiters.
Right.
So yeah, so goiters, which is swelling of the necks and things like that, are the consequences of non-iodization of salt. So people that use non-iodized or people that don't take iodine in any form have been found to have goiters.
Right. Okay. But that doesn't change the fact that we should, whether iodized or not, we should still watch our salt intake.
Yeah. Yes, it doesn't change the fact that we should still watch our salt intake.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I have well, I mean, no one else has got any questions at the moment, but I want to go through some of the questions that came up while you were talking.
Okay.
So talking again on the topic of diet. So you talked about reducing bad fats, sugars, and salt, and you spoke about the snacks that we like so much, the donuts, the cookies, and wafers and things like that. Now, so it's difficult to tell someone, well, look, can you just stop eating snacks? I'm wondering, well, what if for example, I have some snacks that I really like, but now I find out that the snacks that I like so much are actually detrimental to my health. What do I do? Do I just stop taking the snacks, or can I replace it with something else? What can I replace the snacks with? What's the best strategy there, so that, you know, if I feel like snacking on something, then there is something there that I can snack on. Otherwise, I might go back to the bad snacks.
To the bad, yeah. So I mean, what I do is I try to eat all these healthy nuts. So I try to eat a lot of nuts, a lot of rather than eat biscuits and all these things. I mean, like I'm going to work tonight. I buy because I've noticed that when I go to work, I tend to snack a lot to keep my energy up during the night. So I've changed what I eat from the from the usual donuts, biscuits, and all. I've changed it to taking more of snack of nuts, fruits, things like that. So I'm taking more of that. So I tend to eat more of nuts, tend to eat more of fruits, tend to eat more of bananas. I mean, if you look at my fridge here, it's all fruits and nuts. So that's what I use to keep my energy up. But I mean, as you can see in this slide, it is suggested that you take less than 1%. So when you look at everything, right, I'm not saying you should stop all totally, but when you look at everything you eat in a day, you should take less than 1% of it. So when you look at everything I'm going to eat a day, I shouldn't be snacking or eating, sit down and finish one box of Krispy Kreme. Cream donuts. Or eating cakes and things like that. So you should reduce it to the barest minimum and convert that to more of things that you can I know it's not, it might not be the most enjoyable or the most enjoyable of
snacks.
Things, of snacks at the beginning. But if you look at the consequences or you look at the benefits, then you will tend to eat, you tend to take that up. And there are so many kinds of fruits worldwide. So you can take the ones you like and drop the ones you don't like, if you get what I mean.
Okay. Fantastic. Excellent. Thanks for that, Doc. Okay, guys, let's have some questions while we have the doctor with us, because he's going to be going to work soon. So let's make the most of it while we have him here. Steph, anything from you? Any questions for the doc?
I don't have too many questions. I just really enjoyed everything that Uncle said.
Okay. All right, good stuff. Tamara, what about you? Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. How about you, Sinach?
I don't really have any questions.
Okay. All right. You can ask questions even surrounding, the coronavirus vaccines. And if I mean, we hear a lot of things about the vaccines and all that. Instead of getting conspiracy theories, I'm
happy to talk to you about anything. I know somebody mentioned something about vaping is not any better. Is that do you want me to talk about vaping? Or do you want me to talk about or you are acknowledging that vaping is not any better? That is coming from Samuel and Daniel Mahele.
Yes. I mean, please do talk about vaping, because it's common now. Even sometimes you see secondary school children either smoking or vaping, and thinking that perhaps vaping would be better than smoking.
Do
So
better.
yeah, can
So,
you talk about that?
Yeah, so vaping is used as a form of replacement for cigarettes, but it's a new thing. But what has been found out that the harmful things in cigarettes are the nicotine and other harmful ingredients being put into it. So what you are form of substituting, so you are substituting the other harmful, some of the harmful substances you are taking, you are substituting it in another form. So it still doesn't prevent some of the consequences of cigarette smoking. But because it's still a new thing, the long-term benefits, the long-term consequences have not been fully known. Yes, fully known or fully understood, because it's still relatively new. Okay. So I'm sure in the next or in years to come, we will know more, because when smoking started in the history, if you look back at history, smoking was actually encouraged at the beginning and there was a lot of publications at the beginning in which was done by smoking companies, making it looking a lot better, and making it look as if it's cheap, it's sexy, talking about the benefits, how it improves confidence, and things like that at the beginning, which made people to take up smoking then. But over time, it's been found out that actually this is very, very wrong. And that's why, I cannot talk about the long-term benefits or the long-term effects of vaping at this point. But what is known is that vaping still contains nicotine and still contains some harmful substances still. So it's just a replacement. Because what happens in smoking is you inhale nicotine. Nicotine changes some, we call it dopaminergic part of the brain, making you addicted to it. So it gives you a sense of, it increases dopamine. So it gives you a sense of highness, gives you some kind of elation feeling and things like that. So and it reduces the body production of that hormone or substance. So you now get the replacement from the cigarette smoking, so which makes it very, very, very addictive. So that's why people that tend to smoke have difficulty stopping, because the body is changed. The body is used to a level of dopamine, which is not, which the body is not able to produce. So it needs external chemicals or external products or external forms of it to be able to get to that level. So that's why smoking and almost all of these other drugs, or all the, I'm sure some of you have heard of it, maybe all the other hard drugs are very, very addictive as well. So that's that about that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Doc. What about weed? I mean, some people advocate that, well, look, it's a plant, it's natural, it's better than smoking smoking tobacco. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm aware, tobacco is also a plant. But anyway, but is smoking weed better than smoking smoking tobacco?
Cannabis is a highly controversial. Is highly controversial in terms of in terms of its health and health benefits. But what has been found out that weed has been found to be we call it an introductory drug. So it's been found to be an introductory drug to higher, more addictive, more powerful drugs, more mind-destroying drugs. So weed has been found to be a primary drug, like a starter drug for all those higher and more destructive drugs. So, I mean, and also looking at it from a Christian point of view, why would you want to alter your mind by drugs when you want to hear God? When your mind is altered by drugs, you cannot hear God, because you cannot hear the voice of God in an altered mind. If you get what I mean, your mind will be solely focused on God, hearing the voice of God, living in His ways, making your soul prosper. So taking chemicals or taking drugs to alter your mind alters your perception, alters everything. So destroying your faith or destroying your the whole essence of your being. So in as much as some people might say it's controversial, it has benefits, but looking at a Christian perspective, it is not good for you.
Amen. Amen. Thanks for that, Doc. Fantastic. I saw a hand raised earlier.
It was me.
Okay. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What was your journey to being a doctor? Did you go to like medical school? And if so, what's it like there?
Oh, yes. Well, my journey to be a doctor, yes. Every doctor has to go to medical school. Should I say unfortunately or fortunately? So, yeah, I mean, for different countries, it differs. But I can say I did my medical degree in Nigeria, and I had to do 6 years after I finished my secondary school. I had to do 6 years of medical school. We do 3 years of basic medical sciences and 3 years of clinical medical sciences. The basic medical sciences are just higher forms of biology, which is anatomy, higher forms of anatomy and physiology, and then chemistry, which is we do biochemistry, which is higher forms of chemistry, and that has to do only with just dealing with the human body. So it's just bio for the human. So, and that's what we deal with in the basic medical sciences. And in the clinical sciences, when we deal about diseases, and because you have to have a basis, which is done in the basic medical sciences. And then when you get to the clinical medical sciences, that's when you deal about diseases, treatments, management, and everything else. So, and after that, then you could be in general practice, or you could specialize. Like I'm specializing in respiratory medicine at the moment. So I'm specialized in internal medicine. Then I'm sub-specialized in respiratory medicine. So that is my subspecialty is respiratory medicine. So I see consequences of smoking, consequences of drug abuse. I see consequences of that day in, day out. So I know about that to a very, very large extent. So yeah, and I tend to subspecialize in probably lung cancer or lung diseases. But yes, but that's just in the future. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and so if So do you spend, so if you want to specialize, do you specialize, so once you've qualified as a general thing, so do you like go to medical school in your specialized thing after you do the general medical school?
So that's when you now start working in the hospital, or you do various exams over the years. It could take you up to 7, I mean, for neurosurgery, most especially in the US, or even here, it takes up to 10 years to be from the time you finish medical school to the time to become a neurosurgeon. It takes up to 10 years or more. That's the least minimum. For medicine in this country, it takes about 7 years or more. And also for most subspecialties, only general practice that takes you roughly about 3 to 4 years.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so that's 5 years. So 5 years of training as a doctor, 5 or 6 years, and then
6 years. Yeah. Yes.
Right, and
So
then you're a
6 years
general
of training,
practitioner.
then
Your GP,
you
and
do
then
another, depending if you go straight, you do another 2 or 3 years of house job, then you now do another 7 to 10 years of training again to become a specialist.
wow.
Yeah.
Right, so that's a lot of studying. So that means that you really need to be passionate about medicine to be a doctor. Otherwise, you won't last. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. That is great. I sincerely hope that was useful to you guys. That was certainly useful to me. So here's my takeaway for this is really to revisit my diet and what I eat. I do tend to eat quite a lot of vegetables, but I do need to watch the snacking, because I don't I don't snack a lot, but when I do snack, it's not the healthy variety. Let me put it that
way. I mean, what I am trying to do, I think I probably must have talked to you about it, is increase. I know I do a lot of walking around and doing everything at work. I mean, I do on a typical day, I do probably between 5,000 to 10,000 steps while I'm at work.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I'm actually trying to do is increase my physical activity, doing more of the things which I've shown, which I showed in the.
I think that was the PDF. Yeah.
Yes, in that picture, which is the which is at least 150 minutes moderate intensity activity per week, or at least 75 minutes vigorous intensity per week, which you could running, stairs, sports, brick walk, cycling, and swimming. So
good stuff. So more physical activity.
You need to build your strength on at least 2 days a week. So going to the gym, carrying heavy bags. So you need to build your strength as well to keep your muscles and bones and joints strong.
Praise God. Well, one person that's very good with physical activity is Tamara, and then she plays a lot of netball, and she's very good at it. Fantastic. Well, that's great. We're gonna let you go, Doc. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us. I am very grateful.
I hope it was helpful for all of you guys. And if you need me at any point, I'm always willing. I'll create time to be able to talk to you as well.
Amen.
Thanks a lot, and do have a lovely rest of the night and rest of the day.
Praise God. Come on, guys. Let's say thank you to Doc. If you can unmute yourself and say thank you.
Thank you.
That was really great.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, do have a lovely day. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
I need to start preparing for work now. Bye.
Amen. Bye-bye.
Okay.